everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make a Scotch and stem ginger loaf cake. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to mention is the stem ginger itself. So this is something that was new to me, and I'm just going to include a recipe down below of how to make stem ginger. It's really easy actually. I just made a really big batch of it so that I could make all of the cake that I wanted to, and it smells really good. And I think I'll really enjoy using this in other things as well. So yeah, this was new to me, but it's pretty easy to make. After your stem ginger is made, then go ahead and preheat your oven to 325, and then we're going to chop up some fresh ginger. Now I'm just cleaning off this piece of fresh ginger because we're going to have fresh ginger, stem ginger, as well as ground ginger in this cake. Okay, so you can just add this ginger that I've chopped kind of roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to go into a food processor. And go ahead and add in your flour, your baking soda, baking powder, and salt, the cinnamon and the ginger, and then I'm also going to start adding in the stem ginger as well. Alright, so everything's been added to my food processor. Now I'm going to give it a good food process. Alright, that looks and smells really good. So, and then take a 1/4 cup of your stem ginger and do a rough chop of things that are going to go actually in the cake. That way it's not as processed as the ginger that we put inside of our flour mixture. That way it'll really bite into a nice piece of ginger, and the good thing about this is that it's really sweet and it's just like a nice flavor instead of being too powerful. Okay, so my ginger is nice and finely chopped, and I'm going to set this to the side for now, and then in a bowl I'm going to mix my butter and some brown sugar. And you're just going to mix this up till nice and combined. Okay, once your butter and sugar is all nice and combined, then go ahead and add in your orange and your vanilla extract. And then after you completely mix that together, then add in 1 egg. Okay, now my vanilla, my orange, and my egg is all blended in this, and I'm going to zest 1 orange into this batter. I love the smell of zesting an orange. It smells really good, and it always makes me think of Christmas time too. Okay, now go ahead and put your Scotch in the mix and mix that all up. Okay, now I'm going to start alternating between my flour mixture and the milk. So just add a little bit of flour at a time, mix that, and then add your milk until it's all incorporated. Okay, now fold in the ginger that we chopped. That would have been faster to just rake it in with my hand. And you don't want to overmix this, so just do, you know, classic Mary Berry, round the bowl and straight through the middle. Okay, so that looks good. Now I'm going to just grease a loaf pan, and I'm just going to pour my mixture into that, and then I'm going to bake it for about 40 to 45 minutes, just depending on your oven. Okay, now in a small ramekin or bowl, go ahead and mix your stem ginger and some Scotch. This is going to be the soak for the cake, so it just adds a lot of moisture and it just tastes really good. The thing I like about this too is that you don't want to add a lot of Scotch at all, like a 1/2 teaspoon, and just be really careful because it's kind of hard to measure out that small of an amount of Scotch, and so you just really don't want it to be too harsh to where you're getting like punched in the face with an overwhelming alcoholic scent and flavor. So yes, just a little bit goes a long way. I really like this to be mostly ginger, and this is really, really nice in the cake to just add more moisture to it. And you can just swirl that around and maybe just like taste it and make sure that it tastes. You want this to be more gingery than Scotch. Yep, that's good. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and make the frosting that's gonna go all over the cake. And it's not really a frosting, it's more of like a glaze. And so we're gonna take some confectioner sugar, and we're gonna sip that just so it stays really smooth and we don't have any clumps and lumps. And then we're gonna add, again, some more stem ginger. It's just a really nice flavor, and it's something that, again, it's pretty new to me. I've never used it in anything, but I really like it. And at first I was concerned that it would be really overpowering as a flavor, but it really isn't. It's really, really nice, and it's very sweet. And yes, it's just really lovely, I think. Okay, and then just blend that up. All right. And like I said, this is a pretty thin glaze. This is just gonna go over the top and do like a nice little sheen to everything and lock in all that lovely flavor. Okay, so now my cake is out of the oven and it has cooled completely. So I'm gonna take just a little skewer and I'm gonna poke holes all throughout the cake. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the stem ginger and Scotch mixture that we made, and I'm just gonna brush the cake a couple times and allow that mixture to just really soak into the cake, and that's gonna really allow it to be really moist. I was kind of concerned the first couple times I made this about drowning the cake and making it too wet, but you really don't need to worry. It'll be good, and it really does just like seep down in there, and it's really, really nice. And then I'm just gonna brush this, and you can just continue to brush it on until it's all used. Okay, and once you're all done with this mixture, just let the cake sit for a little bit to let it really just soak all that in. Okay, now it's time to frost the cake, and I'm just gonna pour this over, and it's really fine if you just wanna let it be really rustic and just kinda like let it drizzle over the sides, but because I really like it to be like this really crisp, almost like layer, I try to just do like a rough layer all over it. So yeah, just try to get it kind of even, but you can just like kind of pour it over and let it do its thing. Yeah, this is really more of like a glaze, which I really, really like. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's one of the things I like about like the ginger cake, is that it's kind of like rustic, and I know that sounds like a total, doesn't matter what it looks like, but I think that there's something really nice about, you know, holiday baking and making something that's just, I don't know, kind of rustic, and there's a beauty to that, I think. But again, too, if you do, you know, if you have some lumps and bumps going on, then it doesn't matter. It adds to that homemade charm. So you know how sometimes you'll look up recipes and then it'll have like a whole story before you even get to the recipe. So I didn't want to do that to you all, but this is actually inspired by a loaf that I had in Scotland, and it was one of those things where my husband and I, we were driving down the Scottish road, and we were just like getting hungry, and we saw this coffee stand, and I was like, we have to stop there and get some coffee. Well, while we were in there, they had a really nice looking display case of some baked goods, and they had a Scotch ginger loaf cake. And so we got it, and I was like, oh, that would be good, you know, just like a snack for the road. And then we got in the car and we started eating it, and it was so good that I regret to this day that we didn't get our own. So we were sharing this thing. So because I just love food so much, I couldn't stop thinking about it when we got home. And I contacted the bakery, and I asked them for the recipe, and they said it was a family recipe, and that that it was, you know, just a family recipe, but they were like flattered and stuff. So they kind of gave me some tips of how to make something similar. So I've been working and working on getting this recipe to where I want it, and this is what I finally come up with. But yes, I didn't want to like do a story time in the beginning of the video and be like, no, not one of those things like on so many blogs. I do like reading those kinds of things, but sometimes you just want to get to the recipe, especially if you're returning, you know? Okay, so this looks good, and then like you can eat this right away, but I like to let this sit so that everything we just put into the cake really soaks into it. And I also like to let the icing just make like this nice little layer that's really more like, it kind of looks like a glaze on a donut. So it'll have like a really nice little sheen that'll like break once you like cut, like once you slice into it, and it's so nice. So I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit longer and then show you what it looks like. It'll just be slightly darker on this, but yes. So here is my Scotch stem ginger loaf cake. I'll have the measurements and the method in the description box below, and I'll see you in the next video.